10 songs, 10 moments, sounds you already know somewhere deep in your chest before the first note even finishes playing. If you grew up in the 70s, or you grew up in a house where 70s soul was always on, Saturday morning while somebody cooked breakfast, Sunday afternoon at somebody's house with the adults talking in the kitchen, then you already know this music doesn't just remind you of a time, it reminds you of people. Of kitchens and voices and faces you'd give anything to see again. We're not talking about the hits the whole world knows. We're talking about the ones that were yours, your families, your neighborhoods, the ones that would come on the radio and make the whole room go quiet for a second, like everybody just silently agreed to stop what they were doing and just feel it. And I have to warn you up front, number 6 on this list, some of you won't make it through without needing a minute. I'm serious. Just be ready. Let's go. Number 10, The Shy Lights. Have You Seen Her? 1971.
You know tomorrow is their future. But for me...
Here's something that still gets me when I think about it. The label didn't even want to release it. Brunswick Records had already put out 3 other singles from that album, and they decided that was enough. The album was done, the story was over, but the song kept playing anyway. R&B radio DJs around the country had started pulling Have You Seen Her right off the vinyl, playing it from the album itself, because the response every single time was undeniable. Phones lighting up, letters coming in, people needing to know what it was. And so Brunswick finally came around and released it as a single in the fall of 1971. It shot to number 1 on the R&B chart and number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. 2 million copies. The Shy Lights, Chicago, and the genius behind the song was a man named Eugene Record, who, and here's the part I love, wrote the song years before they ever recorded it.
As another day comes to an end.
He had the opening, he had the do-do-do, and the central question, have you seen her? But he didn't know where to take it. The song sat there unfinished for years until he sang it for Barbara Acklin, his creative partner, and together they finally completed it. But here's what makes this more than just a hit record.
To the movies, maybe to the park. I have a seat.
Eugene Record wrote Have You Seen Her? About his real wife, his high school sweetheart, Sandra Scott, the woman he'd loved since before any of this music ever existed. And when you know that, when you hear that spoken intro, that quiet heartbreak of a man who can't stop seeing someone's face everywhere he goes.
After day I've tried, I keep saying she'll be.
At the movies, in the park, in the eyes of children playing in the street, it hits different because it's not fiction. That's a real man, a real love, a real grief. And the reason the song exists at all, Isaac Hayes. In 1969, Hayes put an 18-minute track on Hot Buttered Soul. And when Eugene Record heard it, something opened up.
Tell me, have you seen her?
He suddenly understood that a song could be long, that you could speak, that you didn't have to rush. And he went back and finished what he'd started. If you've ever been somewhere perfectly ordinary, grocery store, walking down the street, and for just a second you thought you saw someone you lost, you know exactly what Eugene Record was writing about. Stay with me. Number 9 is right behind this one.
I know I can't hide from a memory, though day.
Number 9, Betty Wright, Clean Up Woman, 1971. I need you to understand something about who recorded this song before I tell you anything else. Betty Wright was 17 years old. 17. Not 19, not 22. 17 years old when she walked into a Miami studio and recorded a song that would sell over 2 million copies and spend 8 consecutive weeks at number 2 on the R&B chart.
The clean up woman will wipe his blue.
8 weeks at number 2. The only reason it never hit #1 was because Al Green's Let's Stay Together was sitting on top of that chart and it wasn't moving for anybody. Not even Betty Wright at 17. She got her gold disc on December 30th, 1971, 9 days after she turned 18. The song itself is a piece of Florida soul engineering. Clarence Reed and Willie Clark wrote it, and the entire thing is built around one guitar lick, played by a man who went by the name Little Beaver Willie Hale, that you would recognize in the first 2 seconds, even if you hadn't heard it in 30 years. Some guitar lines just become part of your body. You don't remember learning them. They're just there. And what's remarkable about Betty Wright is what came after, because she didn't stop at singing. She became one of the greatest producers in the business. She shaped Gloria Estefan's sound. She co-produced Joss Stone's Mind, Body, and Soul, a #1 UK album. She coached Danity Kane on Making the Band. She recorded with The Roots in 2011 and got Grammy nominations well into her 60s. Just cleaning up. Janet Jackson got a platinum broom. And the whole time, that guitar lick from Clean Up Woman kept finding its way into new music. SWV, Beyonce, dozens of others. And Color Me Badd sampled her illegally for I Wanna Sex You Up in 1991. Didn't ask, didn't credit her. She found out, she sued, and she won 35% of the royalties. At 17, she could sing. At 37, she could fight. Both things were extraordinary. Betty Wright died on May 10th, 2020. Cancer. She was 66 years old, and it's the kind of loss you don't fully process until you're somewhere quiet and that guitar comes on and you remember. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. #8, Billy Paul, Me and Mrs. Jones, 1972. Philadelphia, 1972. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff have been going to the same bar under their own office building almost every afternoon. And there's this couple, a man and a woman. They come in separately. They sit in the same booth every time. They go to the jukebox. They play the same songs. They talk quietly, and then they leave separately. Gamble turns to Huff one day and says, "That's me and Mrs. Jones." They go upstairs, they write the song, and then they need someone to sing it. The original choice wasn't Billy Paul. The OJs were right there, and already having success on Philadelphia International. But the song went to Billy, a 50-year-old jazz singer from the streets of Philadelphia who had been paying dues in clubs and lounges since the 1950s. A man who had served in the army alongside Elvis Presley in Germany and had actually tried to convince Elvis to start a band with him. Elvis said no. History went on. Billy Paul recorded Me and Mrs. Jones and changed everything. #1 on the R&B chart, #1 on the pop chart, #1 for the last 3 weeks of 1972, the final #1 of the year, knocking Helen Reddy's I Am Woman out of the top spot, itself knocked out by Carly Simon's You're So Vain. He won the Grammy. He beat out Ray Charles. He beat out Curtis Mayfield. He beat out Isaac Hayes. And there's a secret hidden in the track that most people have never noticed. That saxophone line running through the entire song, it's quoting Secret Love, a 1953 Doris Day song, subtle enough that most listeners never catch it. But if you know it, it changes what the song is about, because Secret Love is literally about a love that can't be spoken aloud. And here's Billy Paul rapping a hidden love inside another hidden love. And the whole thing is layers deep before you even get to the lyrics. Gamble and Huff's follow-up plan was to release Am I Black Enough for You? Politically charged anthem that got almost no radio play. Billy Paul said he opposed it from the beginning. The label didn't listen. And just like that, the crossover window closed. He spent the rest of his career fighting for recognition and for royalties he was owed. He eventually sued Gamble and Huff. He won that too. He made it to 81 years old. He died on April 14th, 2016. And if you've ever known something was wrong and done it anyway because it felt too strong to stop, you already know what he was singing. Number 7 is next. And this one went to number 1 for 4 straight weeks. Number 7, Luther Ingram, If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right, 1972. The song wasn't even supposed to exist. 3 writers at Stax Records, Homer Banks, Carl Hampton, and Raymond Jackson, wrote it for a girl group called The Emotions. They went into the studio, they cut a version. It was up-tempo, rhythmic, bright sounding, and everyone agreed the song's subject matter, an extramarital love affair told without apology, was too uncomfortable coming from these women. So the tape went on a shelf and sat there for a couple of years. Then Luther Ingram came through the Stax building one day, just visiting, and he happened to find it. He listened to it, and he heard something nobody else had heard. He heard the gospel underneath it. He slowed it down in his mind before he ever touched an instrument. He took that tape home, worked out a new arrangement with his own family, and then carried it all the way to Muscle Shoals Sound Studios in Alabama, where some of the greatest soul recordings in history were made. He used a Wurlitzer piano run through an Echoplex unit layered with a Hammond organ, and what came out was one of the most emotionally honest vocals in the history of R&B. Not because Luther Ingram had the biggest voice, because he sang it like he meant every word and wasn't ashamed of any of it. Number 1 on the R&B chart, 4 weeks at the top. Number 3 on the pop chart, 4 million copies sold. Billboard's 16th song of the entire year of 1972. And then he performed it live at Wattstax, the 1972 benefit concert for the Watts community in Los Angeles, in front of over 100,000 people. And the live version is almost better than the record. Almost, because you can hear the crowd. You can hear them lean in. Here's what most people don't know about Luther Ingram. He wasn't just a vocalist. He co-wrote Respect Yourself, the song that gave the Staple Singers one of the defining anthems of that entire era. He was building the whole architecture of the sound from the inside. Barbara Mandrell later took this same song to number 1 on the country chart in 1978. Millie Jackson built an entire album around it in 1974. The song traveled across genres because the truth in it is universal. Some feelings don't belong to one kind of music. They belong to all of us. If you've ever been in a situation you knew wasn't right but couldn't walk away from, you're not alone. Luther Ingram made sure you weren't. Number 6, and I meant What I said in the beginning. Be ready. Number 6, The Intruders, I'll Always Love My Mama, 1973. I want you to just stop for a moment before I start this one, because some of y'all are going to feel this in a place that has nothing to do with music. The Intruders were a Philadelphia vocal group, 4 men who had been singing together since around 1960. By 1973, they had worked with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff long enough to have helped build the very foundation of what we call Philadelphia soul. And in 1973, Gamble and Huff, along with Gene McFadden and John Whitehead, brought them a song, a simple song. A song that said, without any complication, what a lot of people feel but don't always say out loud. I'll always love my mama. She's my favorite girl. It charted at number 6 on the R&B chart. It never crossed over the way some of these other songs did. It didn't need to, because it had something that no chart position can measure. It had a direct line into something specific and irreplaceable in people's lives. Here's what I think about when I hear this song. Kenny Gamble wrote it partly inspired by his own mother, Ruby. She passed away in 2012, which means he carried this tribute with him for almost 40 years after writing it. Which means the gratitude in this song wasn't just something he put on paper once and let go of. It was something he lived with every day. And now, here's the part that makes this entry what it is. Of the original 4 members of the Intruders, Eugene Doughty, Sam Brown, Robert Edwards, and Philip Terry. Today, only Philip Terry is still alive. His bandmates are gone. The co-writers of this song, Gene McFadden and John Whitehead, are both gone. If you've ever lost your mother, if you had the kind of relationship with her where you told her you loved her the way this song describes, or even if you didn't say it enough and you wish you had, then you already know why this is number 6. You already know why this still hurts. And if your mama is still here, I hope you play this for her. Today, not someday, today. Let's keep moving. Number 5, Bloodstone, Natural High, 1973. And I don't even know. Kansas City, 1962. 5 young men form an a cappella vocal group. They call themselves the Sinceres. They spend the next decade trying to get a record deal in Los Angeles. Nobody signs them, so they learn to play instruments. And then they do something unusual. They go to London. And I take to the sky. That decision, going overseas, landing with Decca Records, working with a producer named Mike Vernon, who had recorded early Fleetwood Mac and Savoy Brown, changed everything. Because the sound they came back with wasn't exactly what you'd expect from Kansas City or from the English blues scene. It was something in between all of it. Soul and doo-wop and rock guitar and gospel harmony all folded into the same record. They called themselves Bloodstone. And in the summer of 1973, Natural High hit number 4 on the R&B chart, number 10 on the pop chart, and stayed in the top 40 for 12 straight weeks. When I see you on the street. The album went to number 2 on the soul album charts and sold over 1 million copies. But here's what was happening in the background while all of this was unfolding. Roger Durham, the keyboard player, one of the founding members, one of the voices, died that same year, 1973. The year they finally made it, the year the music reached the world. He didn't get to see what came after. The group carried on as a quartet, and then Quentin Tarantino used Natural High on the Jackie Brown soundtrack in 1997. 24 years later, and introduced it to a whole new generation who had never heard of Bloodstone at all. You know what gets me about that? The song outlived the moment it was made for. It found new ears decades later. And if you've ever put something into the world, a song, a piece of work, a letter, anything, not knowing who it would eventually reach, this is what that looks like when it works. Number 4 is next, and it is one of the most remarkable stories in this entire countdown. If you have anything to do. Number 4, Shirley Brown, Woman to Woman, 1974. Ain't that the same thing y'all would have done? She was 14 years old when Albert King heard her sing. 14, performing at a club in Brooklyn, Illinois, not Brooklyn, New York. And King, one of the great blues guitarists of his generation, was so stunned by what he heard that he took her directly under his wing. She went on the road with him for 9 years. While she was supposed to be in school, she was touring. He made sure she had a tutor. She mostly cut her classes to rehearse. And by the time she was 23, she had more stage experience than most veterans twice her age. But she still hadn't had a hit record, not a real one. I've been loving the same man. He's mine in the morning. Then a song showed up at Stax Records, written by 3 writers, James Banks, Eddie Marion, and Henderson Thigpen. It was originally offered to Inez Fox, a more established Stax artist. Fox said no. She didn't want to do the spoken intro. She felt it was better suited for a male voice. So the song was looking for a home. Oh, can I tell her like this? Listen, woman to... And Albert King, the man who had discovered Shirley Brown a decade earlier, walked her into Stax president Jim Stewart's office. What came out of that session is Woman to Woman, a phone call. A woman calling another woman, calm but absolute. No begging, no screaming, just a direct, devastating truth delivered to the woman who has been seeing her man. Take my man. I believe I tell her like this, y'all. Shirley Brown cut the entire vocal in one take. It hit number 1 on the R&B chart. It crossed over to number 22 on the pop chart. It sold over 1 million copies. It was nominated for a Grammy. And here's the line that will stop the room in any conversation about this song. It was the last major hit that Stax Records ever had. The label went bankrupt in 1975, 1 year after this song. One of the greatest record companies in the history of American music, gone. And Al Jackson Jr., the co-producer of Woman to Woman, Stax's legendary house drummer, the man who was the rhythmic heartbeat of an entire era of soul music, was murdered in October 1975, shot in his own home. He was 39 years old. Shirley Brown had given a dying label its final moment of glory. And then the label and the man who helped her build that moment were both gone within a year. That's not just music history, that's tragedy. And she kept singing anyway. Number 3, William DeVaughn, Be Thankful for What You Got, 1974. You may not have. He was a government employee, a drafting technician for the federal government in Washington, D.C. He did his job. He went home. He wrote songs on the side in whatever time he had left over. And in 1972, he saw an ad in a magazine for a recording studio in Philadelphia called Omega Sound that would let you come in and record if you paid for it yourself. He sent them some demos. They liked what they heard. And William DeVaughn paid $900 out of his own pocket to record a song. $900. His own savings. No label, no backing, no guarantee of anything. He'd originally called the song A Cadillac Don't Come Easy. He rewrote it into something more philosophical, more generous in spirit. And by the time MFSB, the legendary Philly Soul House Band, the same musicians who played behind Harold Melvin and the OJs and Teddy Pendergrass, finished recording it at Sigma Sound Studios.
A great big Cadillac.
The song sounded like a Curtis Mayfield record. People heard it and immediately assumed it was Curtis. It wasn't. It was a drafting technician from Washington who'd taken a risk on himself with $900. Number 1 on the R&B chart, number 4 on the pop chart.
Diamond in the back, sunroof top.
Nearly 2 million copies sold. Rolling Stone would eventually rank it at number 374 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. And here's what happened next. By the time the record hit number 1, William DeVaughn had become a Jehovah's Witness. He was going door to door with pamphlets while his song was at the top of the charts. He'd come to live performances and preach to the crowd instead of singing. His producer, John Davis, said by the time the record was number 1, he was handing out pamphlets.
Though you may not drive.
That's why the album was all religious. Eventually, he stopped touring. He went back to working in a record store. He went back to drafting. And the song kept living. NWA sampled it. Parliament quoted it on Mothership Connection. Massive Attack covered it on Blue Lines. Diamond in the Back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangsta lean became a phrase that crossed every genre line there is.
A great big Cadillac, diamond in the back.
If you've ever poured yourself into something genuinely without knowing if it would work, and it worked, but the world moved faster than you were ready for, you understand William DeVaughn. Number 2 is one of the most quietly extraordinary records from this entire era. And the story of how it was made, extraordinary might not be enough.
But remember,
Number 2, Major Harris, Love Won't Let Me Wait, 1975.
in more ways.
The song was recorded in the dark, not completely dark. There was one small light, just enough to illuminate the lyric sheet on Major Harris's music stand. That's it. The Sigma Sound Studios in Philadelphia, one of the most storied recording rooms in the history of R&B, almost entirely dark.
Take a little for my
MFSB in there, laid back and perfect, and Major Harris standing in the near dark reading words he was feeling his way through. And if you listen closely to the instrumental sections of Love Won't Let Me Wait, really closely, past the lush orchestration, past the guitars, you can hear a woman softly crying or something close to it. It's not accidental, it's built in.
not one more minute, baby.
And that's exactly what number 1 on the R&B chart sounds like in 1975. Here's the story of Major Harris you probably don't know. He was born into music. His brother Joe Jefferson wrote Mighty Love and One of a Kind Love Affair for the Spinners. His cousin Norman Harris was one of the principal guitarists and producers in the entire Philly soul machine.
That love won't let me.
The musical bloodline was real, but getting to that dark studio, to that one hit, took most of his adult life. He sang with the Charmers. He briefly sang with Frankie Lyman's Teenagers. After Frankie, after the peak, at a point where the group was still touring on fumes and reputation,
Till I see the morning sun.
he recorded solo singles that went nowhere. And then he joined the Delphonics, the group that had already given the world Lala Means I Love You and Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time, and spent 3 years as part of their live show, recording, touring, being heard but not known.
And I refuse to leave.
When he finally left to go solo in 1974, he assembled a group of musicians who had broken free of the Philadelphia international structure and were ready to do something of their own. Bobby Eli produced it. Vinnie Barrett, real name Gwendolyn Woolfolk, wrote it. and Major Harris in that near-dark studio made it.
And it's because of you.
Love Won't Let Me Wait went to number 1. It was his only top 40 pop hit. His career after it followed the pattern we've seen so many times on this list. The industry moved on while he stayed exactly who he was. He eventually went back to the Delphonics. He kept performing. He died on November 9th, 2012.
And I refuse to leave.
If you've ever been in a room with someone you were completely sure of, and that certainty felt almost unbearable, almost too heavy to carry, you know what he was recording in the dark. Which brings us to number 1. And I want you to know before I tell you this story that the number 1 song on this list is not the best remembered. It's not the one that gets played at parties, but it might be the one that means the most. About music, about what happens to artists, about how the industry works, about what we owe to the people who gave us something real. Number 1, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, featuring Teddy Pendergrass. Wake Up Everybody, 1975.
The world has changed so very much from what
I want you to know something about the name at the top of this record. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Harold Melvin. His name, his band, his billing. Harold Melvin could not sing, not at the level this music required. He had been the founder. He had been the lead voice in the early years when they were called the Charlemagnes, when they were playing small rooms and trying to find their sound.
I know we could do it if we all.
But by the time they signed with Philadelphia International in 1972, Harold Melvin was not the voice of this group. He was the manager, the entrepreneur, the man who kept the operation running. The voice was Teddy Pendergrass. And here's how Teddy got there. In 1970, Harold Melvin was looking for a drummer. He found a young man playing drums for a Philadelphia group called the Cadillacs. His name was Theodore Derice Pendergrass. He joined the Blue Notes as a drummer, and then during a rehearsal, maybe a live show, he started singing along. And what came out of him was so extraordinary, so entirely uncontainable, that Harold Melvin had to make a decision. He moved Teddy to the front of the stage and never moved him back. Between 1972 and 1975, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were one of the most important groups in American music. If you don't know me by now, The Love I Lost, Bad Luck, Don't Leave Me This Way, and this, the title track of their final album together,
Just you and me.
Written by Gene McFadden and John Whitehead, who would later have their own number 1 hit with Ain't No Stopping Us Now in 1979. Wake Up Everybody hit number 1 on the R&B chart. It spent 2 weeks at the top. It crossed over to number 12 on the pop chart, and it was the last thing Teddy Pendergrass ever recorded with this group.
They're the ones who are coming up. What you have to say.
Because Harold Melvin was still controlling the money, still putting his name on the marquee, still receiving a larger financial share than the man whose voice was making everything possible. By 1976, Teddy had finally had enough. He left. He demanded the group be renamed. He was refused. He walked. Within a year, he had 4 consecutive platinum albums as a solo artist, a record for any artist at the time. And Harold Melvin, he never recovered. The group went through one lead singer after another. They tried, it never came close. When you watch the Soul Train performance of Wake Up Everybody from 1975, there's a shot of Harold Melvin at the far right of the stage.
Wake up all the builders, time to build a new.
In a pale blue tuxedo, slumped in his chair, not singing, just sitting, looking off stage, while Teddy Pendergrass gives everything he has to a song about waking the world up. In March 1982, Teddy Pendergrass was in a car accident that left him paralyzed from the chest down. He was 31 years old.
The world has changed so very much from what it used to.
And he came back 3 years later at Live Aid in 1985 in Philadelphia, his city. He performed in front of 1.5 billion television viewers worldwide in a wheelchair, and he sang. Harold Melvin died in 1997. Teddy Pendergrass died in 2010. And Kenny Gamble, the man who produced this record, who built Philadelphia International from nothing, has said publicly that Wake Up Everybody is the second greatest song ever recorded, right behind Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. I'll let you decide if he's right.
I know we could do it if we all lived out.
But here's what I know. This song is about responsibility, about seeing what's in front of you and not looking away, about the world needing something from the people in it. And it was made by a group of men who were already falling apart, already in the middle of a conflict that was going to end everything. And they still made something that mattered beyond all of them. That's what real music does.